The new National Party will host its national convention on Sunday, October 27th, 2019. Venue, McDonald College, under the theme NNP, continuing to build a stronger and resilient economy. Time, closed session begins at 9:30 a.m. Open session at 3 p.m. and goes until 6:30 p.m. Come and hear presentations on current affairs, the economy, and the way forward by our political leader, the Right Honorable Dr. Keith Mitchell.
So sisters and brothers, with the team here, they're all committed to serve you, to serve the people of this country.
The new National Party National Convention, Sunday, October 27th, 2019. McDonald College. Mobilize your posse. Contact your constituency office. Just be there.
Sisters and brothers, thank you all.
Stay up to date with all that's happening with the new National Party, NNP. Send us a message via text or WhatsApp on 405-8683 with your name, email, and constituency. Stay in the know with NNP. Get updated.
If you think safety rules are a pain, try having an accident. Drive safely. A message from the Traffic Department of the Royal Grenada Police Force. Canada to provide biometric processing for visa applications in Grenada. Details of this story and more in the National Report. Welcome back with the details to the news for Monday, October 21st. I am Sherry Ann Noel. Canadian officials will be in Grenada for 2 days next month to carry out biometric processing for persons wishing to obtain visas. The visit by the Canadian officials on Monday, November 18th and Tuesday, 19th, is as a result of a partnership between the governments of Grenada and Canada. As part of the visa application process, Grenadian nationals must provide biometric information, that is fingerprints and a photo, when applying.
Government negotiating team committed to resolving wage dispute with TAU and PWU. Details to this story and more in the National Report. With the details to the news for Tuesday, October 22nd, I am Leslie Ann Johnson. The government negotiating team has pledged its commitment to resolving the current dispute with the Grenada Technical and Allied Workers Union and the Public Workers Union over wage increases for public officers. However, the GNT says if any progress is to be made around the table with labor unions, there is need for a conciliator to bring the parties closer together, given the great disparity between the government's offer and the union's demand. During a press conference immediately following the post-cabinet press briefing on Tuesday, head of the GNT, the Honorable Oliver Joseph, reiterated that they are prepared to consider any, quote, reasonable and justifiable demand by the union, unquote. The unions have only slightly dropped their demands for salary increases for public officers from $90.5 million to $89 million, while the government is offering $26.6 million, taking into consideration government's commitments to other sectors of the population. Minister Joseph says it must be borne in mind that negotiations will be conducted differently under the fiscal responsibility legislation.
The union said they do not recognize the deadlock. Well, under the labor law, the other side do not have to agree. And there was clearly no movement, so there is deadlock. No movement, you declare deadlock. So if you have to wait for the other side, either party, to agree, then it will be difficult for anyone to declare deadlock, because all the other party have to say is that we do not agree. So the argument that they do not agree and they letter to me that we could go back around the table when the matter is before the Labour Commissioner, where we indicated that we were prepared to go to conciliation and there look at fresh proposal. And they have refused to attend the both meetings, even when the Labour Commissioner rescheduled a meeting. They wrote a letter saying they're not available between the 21st to the 24th. But they wanted to meet with the GNT on the 22nd. But if they're not available to meet with the Labour Commissioner, how come they're available to meet with the GNT? So the matter will, before the Labour Commissioner, he will decide whether the matter should go to mediation if there is no, if the parties are not prepared to meet. Well, we attended all the meetings and they have not showed up.
Cabinet Secretary Mrs. Beryl Isaac says the union's proposal, which will cost the government $89 million, will breach the primary expenditure rule, and as part of the fiscal responsibility legislation, government cannot incur expenditure of more than 2% on the previous year.
Government has to pay increments, $2 million. They are about to make the advance payment to pensioners who are eligible pensioners. Regularization, we have the continued regularization of teachers, we have nurses, we have pharmacists, doctors, all of that is in the work.
She says with the enactment of the fiscal responsibility law, the processes and procedures for negotiations have changed.
Under the FRL, we know that there's no longer going to be any back pay. Negotiations have to be forward-looking, so that whatever is agreed to will be budgeted for in the next cycle. So if we have to agree in 2019 so that the budget could be included in the 2020 estimates of revenue and expenditure.
The Cabinet Secretary says they want to conclude negotiations by October 31st so that provisions can be made in the 2020 budget, which will be read in November. The government's negotiating team met Tuesday with the Grenada Union of Teachers to discuss wage increases for teachers for the contract cycle 2020 to 2022. The negotiations were cordial and there was movement from both sides with respect to the demand being made by the union and the offer presented by the government negotiating team. The flexibility of the parties demonstrates a willingness to reach a settlement at the earliest opportunity. The next round of negotiations will be held on Thursday, October 24th. The duty represents about 1,500 teachers across the country. In other news, Grenada is now a part of the OECS Regional Health Association. On Tuesday, the Ministry of Health, the Caribbean Public Health Agency CARFA, and the World Bank signed the agreement for the $30.6 million funded project throughout the OECS. The Regional Health Project will serve to mitigate the effects of climate change, build capacity, strengthen the surveillance system, and boost recovery and response. Speaking during the launch of the project, Health Minister the Honorable Nicholas Steele expressed optimism that the multi-million-dollar project throughout the OECS will strengthen the resilience of the health system. The project will run for 5 years.
As people in SIDS, we have had the collective experience of devastating impacts of extreme weather events, including Hurricane Ivan in 2004 in Grenada, Maria in Dominica in 2015, and most recently Hurricane Dorian in Bahamas only a few short weeks ago. We also will know the devastating impacts of chikungunya and Zika outbreaks in the region in 2016 and 2017, and the debilitating personal, social, and economic burdens placed on the people of the region as a result of these extreme events. Collective efforts will ensure that as SIDS, the people of the Caribbean are better prepared to respond to climate change and to help shape the future of the next generation.
Minister Steele says $6 million have been allocated for the Grenada project, which will see improvements in 4 key sites in St. George's, St. David, and St. Patrick.
Infrastructure work is planned at 4 sites in Grenada, the Mount Gay Psychiatric Hospital, to ensure the facilities are available for the care of vulnerable members of our citizenry, especially geriatrics and children. The St. Health Center, the St. David's Health Center, which continues the smarting initiatives in previous projects, and the General Hospital, the ICU operating theatre. The infrastructure and operations of the public health laboratory at the General Hospital will be enhanced. Support will be provided for the health emergency planning and operations. Opportunities will be provided through training to enhance the skills and competencies of staff to support the project implementation, and to sustain the long-term benefits resulting from the project intervention.
World Bank representative Michel Gragnolati commended the region on taking this bold step to initiate such an investment in the health sector.
It is the first World Bank regional health project in the Caribbean. It is the first project to follow climate-resilient infrastructure in the context of health facilities. And it is the first and the only to leverage funds from a regional facility that IDA 18 provides. Said in other words, it means that you, by working as a region, have been able to access much more concessional financing than you would if you had worked only as individual countries.
So far, only 4 countries, including Grenada, have signed on to the project's agreement. Partnering countries will spend the next 2 days in Grenada, charting the way forward for the OECS project. This is the National Report. More news after the break.
Grenada, it's coming as the Ministry of Youth, Development, Sports, Culture and the Arts brings to you National Youth Week 2019 and it's 1 full week of activities, vibes and action as the nation turns their attention on the nation's youth, and it's from Saturday, October 19 till Saturday, November 2nd under the theme Embracing Opportunities, Sowing Higher. October 19th and 20th, National Community Service Weekend, Island-wide. October 26th, Health Walk and Ministers Address. October 28th, WeiVybz. October 29th, St. John's Youth Parliament. October 30th, Job Fair and Career Day. October 31st, Fun Nights. November 1st, Discovering Talents and Expo. November 2nd, it's National Youth Awards. Sunday, November 3rd, Ecumenical Service and Peace Concert. So urging everyone to be a part of Youth Week 2019, October 19th to November 2nd.
Continuing the news, the government of Grenada says tackling the backlog of cases will be given priority when court operations begin in earnest next week. Following the completion of retrofitting work on the Carriacou building on Young Street, the functioning of one of the courts was tested this week. During Tuesday's post-cabinet press briefing, Attorney General Darshan Ramdani said the immediate task is to meaningfully tackle the backlog of cases that are before the high courts. He's confident that with the full complement of 4 judges, this will make a significant contribution to the reduction in the backlog.
Court lists are being generated, and they will advise the public of sittings in a new building, and those will be out shortly. Our chambers, the Attorney General's chambers, will continue to be ready and to provide all support as we have been doing over the years. And I'm sure the bar will be also ready, all of the stakeholders will be ready to get right back into it and to get the work of the dispensation of justice on its way. That being said, it would be remiss of me not to express our own gratitude for the support the Minister and the Ministry of Legal Affairs, my own office, has received from all stakeholders to return us to where we are. I must also express gratitude to those judges who during this last year has worked tirelessly in less than ideal and often challenging circumstances to get the job done.
The retrofitted facility was officially handed over to government on Monday. It houses 4 courts, 2 civil and 2 criminal, along with administrative offices.
The building was handed over to the government as being ready for court use. Yesterday, there was a test run in one of the criminal courts dealing with real court matters. Members of the public were present. This test run revealed that a few adjustments had to be made, and those are being presently carried out. For the civil courts, furniture is right now being carried across from the temporary court facilities which were at the Parliament building, as you all may know. I am advised by the Registrar of the Supreme Court that all of the court facilities will be ready for work on Monday. I must point out here that of the 4 judges assigned to Grenada, 2 are presently off island. 1 is to return this month end, and the other, who is on assignment in Antigua, will return mid next month.
In another development, Grenada's Attorney General Darshan Ramdani says given the appeal filed by the Commissioner of Police to challenge the inadequacy of a sentence meted out in a recent sexual assault case involving a minor, there is still a possibility for a custodial sentence to be imposed. At Tuesday's post-cabinet press briefing, the Attorney General said it will be one of the options available to the appeal court when it hears the matter. If the sentence of a $1,500 fine payable to the state and $600 in compensation to the family is deemed inappropriate, the appeal court can throw this out and impose a sentence of imprisonment. Allaying fears that the departure of the perpetrator from the country will affect legal recourse after the appeal is heard, Mr. Ramdani said if he does not return voluntarily, the extradition process can be used. The Attorney General noted that the recent sentence has led to questions about the adequacy of Grenada's laws and the penalties imposed. Referencing the amendments made in 2012, which increased the penalties for most sexual offences following consultations with all stakeholders, Mr. Ramdani said the revision of legislation is a continuous process and noted that the AG's office and the Ministry of Legal Affairs have been continuously working on a number of amendments for several months.
The AG's office and the Minister of Legal Affairs have made conscious decisions to continuously assess our current laws. Right now, we are working on those aspects of laws which relates to the protection of vulnerable witnesses at trial so that victims can be safeguarded during the trial process. We are also looking at amendments to remove corroboration requirements for young children. As the law currently stands, if all the evidence and the only evidence against an alleged offender is the evidence of a child of tender years, then unless that man pleads guilty, it would be virtually impossible to convict him. One view which is being considered is that the possibility must exist for a conviction to flow from such evidence, that is, just the oral evidence of the child without any independent corroborating evidence.
The Attorney General is encouraging persons to get familiar with the provisions of the law, making specific reference to members of the media and social commentators. He said that is driving public discussions. These individuals must research the facts, comment responsibly, and always seek to educate the public. He said it is important to appreciate the fact that significant work has been done legislatively, and Grenada is a leader in the region in this regard on many fronts.
The stakeholders are at work and in tandem. The police force has its special victims unit, which is expected to be engaged on every sexual allegation in the country so that protocols which have been established may be employed. Those, and the most important one of these, of course, is ensuring that where a child is involved, that the Child Protection Authority is involved in the earliest stages of the matter. If I might at this point remind all that the 2012 amendments actually added a legal obligation on parents and guardians who suspect legal abuse of their children or their ward. This obligation requires them to report their suspicion to the police. Failure to do so, the law actually punishes it by a term of imprisonment.
And that's the National Report. I'm Leslie Ann Johnson.
National Party will host its national convention on Sunday, October 27, 2019. Venue, McDonald College, under the theme NNP, continuing to build a stronger and resilient economy. Time, closed session begins at 9:30 a.m. Open session at 3 p.m. and goes until 6:30 p.m. Come and hear presentations on current affairs, the economy, and the way forward by our political leader, the Right Honorable Dr. Keith Mitchell.
So sisters and brothers, with the team here, they're all committed to serve you, to serve the people of this country.
The new National Party National Convention, Sunday, October 27th, 2019. McDonald College. Mobilize your posse. Contact your constituency office. Just be there.
Sisters and brothers, thank you all.
Stay up to date with all that's happening with the new National Party, NNP. Send us a message via text or WhatsApp on 405-8683 with your name, email, and constituency. Stay in the know with NNP. Get updated.
Of the people. But in the battle against climate change, will hope and resilience
from a king to a queen. I say, come let me reap the rewards of your labor. Go on if you dream. This one's for you, mommy. This one is for mommy. You play your part and you still playing your part. Yes, I love you from my heart, boy. Mommy, you lost son, love your part. Won't wait till you depart. Say this son's from my heart. Say from a king to a queen. I say come let me reap the rewards of your labor. Go on if you dream. I know you are the queen of the kingdom. You never forsake none of we. And the dream is to work so hard and make my mother happy. This son's for you, mommy. You crumb me.
And good morning to you, Grenada, Carriacou, and Pity Martinique. Once again, it is time for Hard Talk. My name's Sheldon Scott, here with you until the 12 o'clock hour. Now 34 minutes after the hour of 10 o'clock on the Spice Isle. Today, the 23rd day of October 2019. Quickly coming down to the end of the year, huh? The Christmas breeze is already blowing.
Stay humble. Keep your eyes on the prize, young.
What we saying, Carriacou, Nazim? If it blowing or snowing? I want my t-shirt now. If it blowing or snowing. Carriacou people know what I'm talking about, man.
This one is for my baby.
Yes, indeed. So you just had the information there from the Grenada Solid Waste Management Authority.
Yes, I love you from.
They gave you the garbage distribution, collection days for the holidays on Friday and so. No, Friday is a holiday because Saturday is Thanksgiving Day. So Friday is a holiday. All right, Nazim, am I wrong? All right, Friday is a holiday, ain't it? Yeah, right.
The queen of the kingdom, you never forsake none of we. Man, the dream is to work so hard and make my mother happy. The sons are you, mommy. No to all the mothers.
Saying a special good morning to those of you via the various radio stations. Yeah, indeed. Those of you on City Sound 97.5 FM. A special, glorious Grenadian good morning to you all, and I hope that you're having a fabulous day today. CRFM Community Radio on your frequency modulated 89.5.
This lies in my hand, pen to paper. I know you are the engineer.
In Carriacou, 92.9 FM. Sister Isles.
This one is for my man.
And out there in Brooklyn, the big bad original song Caribbean Radio at its best, giving you a mix of everything. Yeah, it's WeiVybz Radio. Blasting from the basement.
All the queens.
Wait, the listeners say they hear your voice in a while, and they say they hear you for like a while and thing.
Let me reap the rewards of your labor.
Saying a special good morning to my buddy Devon. Yeah, I know he's listening this morning. Still can't come in. Yeah, Devon, we understand the scene, brother. Yeah, we know you go, yeah. Itching to be here around this time, you know Devon already. This is, well, basically he program time. I just leave him. Yeah, it's he program time. That doesn't mean we program. That doesn't mean he program. Yeah, so he is not in today. Wouldn't be back in for a week or two still, yeah? So we say a special good morning to you, Devon. Yeah, and hope everything is going all well and okay for you today. Yeah?
Oh, na, 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 na. This one is for my baby and all the mothers around the world on Mother's Day.
And we say a special good morning to those of you on the live. Carol, good morning to you.
Mother's Day.
Sorana, good morning. And let me see, I see Anne-Marie there. Good morning.
Bless all the mothers, I say,
Hey, Hayes, good morning, man.
Mama, this one's for you, mama. This one is for my baby. You play your part and you still playing your part. Yes, I love you from my heart, boy, my baby.
And good morning to those of you listening on YouTube. Those of you listening via www.hardtalkgrenada.com. So you can take Hard Talk to any part of the planet you want via www.hardtalkgrenada.com. And also via WeiVybz Radio, yeah, because they are on all those digital platforms like Alexa. So you go to Alexa, you say, Alexa, play Hard Talk Grenada. Yeah. Or you go to Alexa and you say, play WeiVybz Radio. You can talk to Alexa and the Google platforms, the Apple platforms, you name it, yeah, they've got it. So you could go on to the WeiVybz platform via those various devices. Yeah, a potential market there, a couple million. Huh?
You are the queen of the kingdom, you never forsake none of we. And the dream is to work so hard and make my mother happy. This one's for you, mommy. You crop me.
Yeah, let me say to his ear, Sheshe.
For some, you are the one that hold me. You are the roots.
So yesterday we had 2 post-cabinet press briefings. Well, we had a post-cabinet press briefing and then we had a press conference. 2 separate things. The post-cabinet press briefing dealt with issues that were brought up at the cabinet meeting, right? And then you had the press conference where you were able to hear what is the latest between the government and the Public Workers Union, TAU. Yeah? So you were able to hear what was taking place there. In fact, GUT, the Grenada Union of Teachers, they have been having their meetings with government. And it seems as though their meetings are going all well and okay. Not hearing any complaints from either side there. It looks like both sides are willing to give a little there. And, understand, in that context, you have to give the Grenada Union of Teachers a little handshake there. You understand? Nice. So the release I'm seeing here, the government's negotiating team met Tuesday, that's yesterday, with the Grenada Union of Teachers to discuss wage increases for teachers for the contract cycle 2020 to 2022. Today's negotiations were cordial and there was movement from both sides. With respect to the demand being made by the union and the offer presented by the GNT, or Government Negotiating Team. The flexibility of the parties demonstrates a willingness to reach a settlement at the earliest opportunity. The next round of negotiations will be held on Thursday, October 24th. The GUT represents roughly 1,500 teachers across the country. Yeah, So Mr. Lydon Lewis and his team, they have had an amicable meeting with the government negotiating team in relation to the issue of wage increases for the contract cycle 2020 to 2022. So both sides move a little bit. Government move up a little bit, and the GUT move down a little bit, and they're in discussions. So they're going to be meeting again tomorrow. The GUT and the government, they'll be meeting tomorrow. So both sides give a look. So they'll be meeting tomorrow. And this is what we want. At the end of the day, you cannot have an inflexible position. Yeah? It can't be an inflexible position. Meanwhile, the meetings with the Public Workers Union and GTAU, those meetings seem to be at a state right now where it's a bit inflexible, yeah? Yeah, it seems to be a bit of thing because in the conciliatory talks, what is being asked for is for the Public Workers Union, GTAU, to present to the arbitrator there, the Labour Commissioner, or at least present to the government their reasoning behind what they are asking for. Yeah, if you're saying that, look, we deserve this. Government is not saying that you don't deserve it. Government is saying that you deserve it. That's what government is saying. Government is not saying to any of the public sector workers, be they nurses, police, prison officers, teachers, be they people that work in the Ministry of Health, the Ministry of Agriculture, the government of Grenada has not said to a single one of them that, hey, you don't deserve it. No one has said that to them. I think all of us would agree that they do deserve it. But is it sustainable? Deserving it is one thing. Can it be sustained? Will it just be a situation that the government signs to it, and then after 3 months, you can't pay because you cannot afford to pay that increase, that additional amount of money you can't pay, or some other area suffers? That if you afford, you have to pay, but some other area suffers. That's what government is saying. So can the government maintain the projects and programs that it has going on now and the projects and programs that are about to start? Can government do that and pay the increases as requested? Now, there must be increases. Let us all agree on that. There must and there will be increases. That's a given. There must and there will be increases. We expect that. There will be increases. But the quantum of the increase, the amount of the increase is what is up for discussion here. And time is running out. We're on the 23rd. And the discussions need to be closed by the end of this month so that they can be included for the budget for next year. So once it's agreed, then the workers can start receiving their increases next year. If not, it wouldn't be within the budget, and as such, government wouldn't be able to go and make those payments during 2020. And all of us want to see teachers get additional money in 2020, isn't it? I cannot think of any person that I've met or any person that I can think of that would not like to see the teachers of Grenada, those that are on the streets right now with the students and them doing their little march and those kind of things against child abuse and so for Child Month. Those that are in the classrooms preparing their lessons or executing their lessons. Those that are doing different, I cannot think of anyone that would deny these people and say, no, they don't deserve an increase. No one will say that. What is up for discussion is the volume of the increase. Our Coast Guardsmen that go out there. Morning, Felix. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Our Coast Guardsmen that go out there on the water. Yeah, no matter what type of weather, they go out there, especially when people find themselves in difficulties. They're out there on the water. Is anyone saying that they don't deserve an increase? No one is saying that. No one did. What's up for discussion is not the individuals deserving. What's up for discussion is the ability of the government to continue making those payments on a constant basis over an extended period of time without another area suffering. Yeah? Because you have to find the resources to do it. Government is saying we could pay a little over 20-something million, but what is being requested by the unions is 80-something million. Now, if you have to find, if your hand is forced and you must find that 80-something million, some other area is going to suffer. So is that area going to be, and the first area that always gets cut, not only in Grenada, but all countries throughout the world, the first area they cut are social programs. So whether it's programs for youth or programs for the elderly, housing programs, whatever it is, those are the first programs that get cut anytime a government finds itself into that sort of situation. So instead of increasing the numbers of people that are now gaining their CVQ qualifications, their Caribbean vocational qualification, instead of increasing the number of people that are getting their NVQ, yeah? Instead of increasing people that are getting their various degrees and so, who are attached to the Imani program, what this will cause if government has to draw the money out from that program, reduce the numbers in that program, is that you are going to be reducing the number of people that are getting qualified through the Imani program with their CVQs and NVQs. At a point in time that we should be really looking to get more young people, those who are sitting at home right now listening to this program, yeah, those who have not gotten an opportunity, and there are many young people who would like an opportunity to get within the Imani program, have not got the opportunity yet, and they're waiting. Are we to say to them, well, no, we can't take you in because we have to shift that money to another area? We can't do that. That would be unfair to them. Or are we to say to people under the housing project that, look, we cannot put any more money into the housing project and so on right now. So we know you have to get some lumber to fix your roof. We know the rainy season tapering off now and we're going into the dry season, which is the best time for you to be able to do your construction so that when the rainy season comes around, you're okay. Are we to say to those elderly people, those disabled people, those people who cannot make ends meet and need that assistance in a serious way, that mother who is working for $700 and has 2 children that she can't see the father up to now, and she needs that assistance, are we going to say to her that, look, we have to cut the program, and it means therefore that you wouldn't be able to get, or you will have to wait a longer time to get if you're getting at all? Are we to say to that mother that, look, because we have to do this, we have to cut that? Because that is what we're facing. That is what we're facing right now. So it is not a case that public workers are undeserving. No one, because there are some people that want to push that narrative and that government trying to convince people that public workers are undeserving. No one is saying that. No one has said that. I would challenge them to find one government official that has said that. Be it a minister or be it a person in a ministry in a senior position that has said that public servants do not deserve a raise. No, they deserve it. They work for it. They earn it. They deserve it. So outside of the increments, and increments, they're going to get the increments. Come hell or high water, they're going to get the increments. That's another payment that they have to get. No matter what, they're going to get their increments. Right. Increments. Then you have the job evaluation that's about to take place. And with the job evaluation, you may have a person that's working for $1,200 and the evaluation may say, well, you can't continue paying this person $1,200 because of the duties that they have, because of the qualifications that they have, and because of the seriousness of the position that they have. Instead of paying them $1,200, you need to increase that person's salary to $1,800. Yeah? That can come out of the discussion. You wouldn't be seeing the salaries. I can guarantee you what you will not see with the salary, with the assessment that's going to take place, the job evaluation. You will not see salaries going down. You will see salaries going up. Some may, the possibility exists that a salary may remain the same. Highly unlikely. But generally what you're going to be seeing is the salaries of public workers through that assessment that's being done going up. So you may have people in the lower grades that are working for a couple $100, yeah, in the public service, under $1,000. And at the end of the assessment, it may be said, no, in the present context, considering what these people have to do, considering the qualification, considering all these things, that person needs to be working for $1,500. And that is outside of this negotiation that's taking place right now. So you may very well find a couple $1 million extra having to be found at the end of the discussions in relation to the job evaluation of people within the public sector. And that might be a couple $1 million. It could be a 10 million. It could be more. On top of the 80-something million that's being requested, 80-something to 90 million that's being requested by the unions. So government is simply saying to the unions, listen, we understand you. Yeah? Who would not want more on the salary? Name one person that would tell somebody, well, I'm willing to work for less. I want all that money again, me. Too much money. I want less. Nobody. So no one is saying that, look, we don't understand your position. What we're saying is we do not understand, and what government is saying is that they do not understand how they came about those figures for the increases. And it's simply saying to them, present to us the reasoning behind it. So there must have been some discussion with some fiscal experts. There must have been an assessment of the Grenadian economy that said we expect the Grenadian economy to expand a little further. We've had 7 years of expansion. We expect it to expand even greater within the next 7 years. And that is the reason that we're saying, give us that. It's simply a situation where the government is saying, explain to us, present to us, and the unions are not doing that. Well, I don't know for GUT, because it seems GUT and government having a good discussion. Yeah? But when it comes to the Public Workers Union and TAU, the discussion is, okay, you're saying to increase salaries by nearly 1/4. So it's about 23%. You're saying increase salaries by that figure. How did you come up to that figure? What is your reasoning behind? We just pick a figure and say, we're working with our one. That is the figure we're working with. Or is there some sort of reasoning behind why because sometimes you're able to convince the government, you know. Sometimes after you present your documentation, you're able to convince government, and government say, we didn't look at it from that perspective. In truth, if we shift this here and we shift that there, we could maintain the Imani program, we could maintain the housing program, the social welfare program, assisting the people and them to get the bathroom and toilets, and so the disabled people need to get a bathroom and toilets outside of the house, and do all the other things that we can do. Yes, we can do it and pay and continue to pay. Not just a one-off pay or you pay for 6 months and you run out of money, but it is sustainable that we're able to do it. Probably the unions might have a formula that can work. Government is simply saying, present that formula to us. What's the problem in doing that? I don't find a problem in doing that. It's all well and okay, to go on television and radio, to write in the newspapers, to jump online and cast blame and call people names and all sorts of things. It's all well and okay to do that. But at the end of the day, this is a serious discussion talking about people's bread and butter here right now. A serious discussion talking about people's bread and butter. And remember, while all the discussion is taking place in the private sector, the people who are working with the private sector companies, and I ain't going to start to name companies because I don't want nobody to get vexed with me. But the people who are working in the private sector, the non-governmental sectors, some of them have not seen their salary move for the last 10 years, Yeah, so them salary that they was working for in 2009 is the same salary they're working for in 2019. And the prices of things may have changed. And these people have to make it with the same salary from 2009 to 2019. So shouldn't the government be able to assist these people through some of the social programs? No one is saying that the public workers are undeserving, but what about the rest of people in Grenada who are outside of the public service, who are not benefiting from increments, job assessments, and salary increases? What about them? Those ununionized workers. Many of the unionized ones, they got little increases and so on. Union fight and get a little 5%, get a little 10%, get a little something every now and again for some of them. Yeah? You know, Tahu always fighting and see what they could get for people and things like that. But what about those people? What about the vast majority? Because the vast majority of Grenadians do not work in the public sector. They do not. But they pay the same taxes. They pay taxes. And they need to benefit from the services, the same services that the public sector workers have to benefit from as well. So I'm glad to know that the Grenada Union of Teachers has taken the approach that they have taken. You know, if I don't like something they do, I won't say I don't like what they do. But I love that approach. And I'm hoping that the other unions who have not taken that approach can start to take that approach as well. And start having a discussion. Instead of trying to have a fight, try and have a discussion. Because what we want is not a fight. What we want is a discussion. And when I say we, I mean every Grenadian. You don't want to see no fight? Anybody that want to see a fight is not a Grenadian or not a patriotic Grenadian. Because a fight will benefit nobody. It will not benefit the government, it will not benefit the unions. A fight will not benefit anyone. What you want is a serious discussion. You want people at the table talking as big man and woman and saying, this is what we want, that is what we want, and let's come. We might not be able to get all that we want, but we could get some. From both sides, from government side and from the union side. And I don't think any of you would disagree with me when I say that. All right? Nice. Donald Roderick is saying salaries should be rise as inflation increases. And I'm not saying that you're wrong. You're correct. But remember, there are people that work within the private sector, yeah? And most of them are ununionized. So while TAU or the GMMIWU or the Bank and General Workers Union and so on, while they would argue for their workers, say the inflation rate is X or Y, and therefore we need to get the salary up of the workers under our union up to this level or that level to counteract, to zero out the inflationary rate on a yearly basis. While that might be the case for those who are unionized, what about the tens of thousands that are not unionized? They are basically left to the goodwill of whoever they're working with, you know. And they better hope that the person has goodwill. So Donald, you're correct. Salaries should raise as inflation increases. I think that's part of what increments for public workers is supposed to deal with and so on.
Well, my temper was your concern. Up to now it's still your concern. And all when things get out of hand, you taught me to
440-7377 347-329-3101. And we had Mr. Darshan Ramdani. He was on radio yesterday and he was outlining.
12 years old, I remember.
But before I get into that one, the court system, yeah. So they have completed work. Keys have been turned over for the facility at the Carriacou building on Yonge Street. Trial run took place this week. One or two things to tweak. He did mention that there are 4 judges that are for the jurisdiction of Grenada right now, appointed to the jurisdiction of Grenada. 2 are on island, 2 are off island and returning soon. So they ran a trial. Well, I wonder if a trial is the right word to use in this case. But they did run a session earlier this week. They said there are 1 or 2 things that need to be done. We do have a caller online.
Hey,
good morning.
Good morning, Sheldon. Good morning, Brother Sheldon. How are everything?
Hey, I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm okay, man. How's
Nice,
Dave,
man.
man?
Well, he's good. Last time I spoke to him, he was okay.
Okay.
It's just, the little pain with the hand and so.
Everything will be right, man. Everything will be right. You come out more stronger. Yeah, Brother Sheldon, as we celebrate Child Month, I want to advise adult men, adult parents, adult women that let our purpose as adults is that we as adults we know that we have to protect. That is what we have to protect the children, right? Protect them from harm way, right? Because we should not be harming the children. We should protect them from harm's way. Because just as how we love our children, we should love our neighbors' children, right? And because what happens many times, there are some people they have a selfish love. They want to see everything goes good for the family, but they don't care about the neighbor children. And if as we as adults care about and love one another, what some people doing to the young people, to the children of our nation, they will never do it. But see, when they only care and they have a selfish care, that's why you see they will always do them things. So I want to advise adults, let us be a protector to our children. Let us protect them from harm's way and not do harm to them. Because the children is the future of tomorrow, please God. And the same, what you don't like for yourself, you must not like it for others. And Brother Sheldon, I think concerning the thing we wage, negotiation. They ask us, what is negotiation? Negotiation will like you give a price of something of $50, right? As you selling for me. And if I say no, $50 too much, we have to negotiate to come to a common understanding. I have to give up something. You have to give up something. You cannot want to stick at $50, and I must go down. So we have to give up something. And once you don't give up that, they're going to be deadlocked, right? And we listen to the government side. The government, they care and they love the people, and everybody makes sacrifice, and everybody should reap the benefit of sacrifice in not one sector of people. And if you have to negotiate in love, negotiate in care and love for others. What you want for yourself, you should want it for others. So, Brother Sheldon, you have a wonderful day. God bless you.
All right. Thank you so very much.
Okay, thank you, brother.
Indeed. Mm-hmm.
Yes, I love you from my heart, boy.
Yeah, someone was asking me what's the inflation rate. Sheldon, you talk about inflation. I'm sure what people know what inflation is. Inflation is basically, how can I put it in the simplest sense? The price of stuff. In other words, the price that you might pay for a basket of goods. So the inflation rate is the price of stuff over a period of time, how it increases or decreases. So the inflationary rate or the inflation rate is the price of goods and things like utilities and services that you may require over a period of time. So in other words, you may be paying electricity at one rate in 2016. Yeah? And it may go up in 2017, it may go up further in 2018 and further in 2019. So therefore, that may add to the inflation rate. It may increase the inflation rate. The basket of goods that you buy over a period of time may increase or it may decrease. Inflation doesn't only go up, sometimes it goes down. And every government, what they're trying to do is get your inflationary rate down, not up, They're trying to get it down. But as long as your inflationary rate continues going up and people's salary don't go up to meet it, then you have a problem. In the public sector, it can be addressed through these wage negotiations, the salary negotiations, and so it can be addressed through the increment payments and with the job evaluation. The three different ways are increasing the amount of money that the average public worker goes home with. It could be addressed through that. But in the private sector, the only way that the government could address that is through some of the social programs that they have. So the person whose salary, while the inflation rate may increase, and not necessarily due to anything on the island, the inflation rate can be due to things that are happening outside. The price of oil can go up if there is tension in the Middle East or if there is conflict in some particular area. And the price of oil would affect the price of electricity in different countries and therefore the price of production. And we buy a lot of stuff from other countries. So once the price of production of those things go up, they won't leave the same price that they're selling it to Grenada for. The price will increase. And as long as the price is increasing, it means that if you have the same salary, it's going to affect you negatively. How does government assist? Government assists through some of the social welfare programs. So it may be a situation that you can't do the repairs to your house. The salary is the same, or the salary non-existent, or the salary is the same, because you're not part of the public service. And even if you're part of the public service. So then it comes, because I don't want to give the impression that people working in the public service is multimillionaires and they're rich, They have problems just like everybody else. Let's just get that clear. They have issues, they have problems like everybody else. So, government addresses this through the social programs, the housing program. You might not be able to afford to buy the lumber and buy the different things to do the little repairs to your house. So government assists through social programs. You may not be able to send your child to school in the way that you want to send your child to school. Government assists through the social programs. Yeah? Even if it is through the seed program, it may be an elder person and so on who has already completed working. And right now I see some of the seed beneficiaries going to collect their monies and so. So government assists through those programs. And every now and again, you may hear a little increase in one of these social programs because you have to address the inflationary rate, the rise in the price of the average basket of goods. That is not due to any costing here in Grenada. Many of our goods come out of Trinidad. So once the price of production in Trinidad goes up, or the price of production in Barbados or Guyana goes up, it means the price of those goods that are being sold to Grenada is going to increase, whether it's by 15 cents or 25 cents. It's going to increase, which means it's going to eat up more of your salary. So we're going to tell people, just don't buy food? No, you have to address it through your social programs. And government is simply saying that, look, we don't want to have to cancel out, don't want to have to close down or reduce or suspend some of the social programs. You want to continue with those social programs. And in order to continue with those social programs, we are willing to give a salary increase, but not at that level. While you're deserving of it, we cannot give you at that level. We can give you at a lower level. Let's discuss what the lower level is. That's it. That's the whole discussion there, That's the whole discussion there. Just thought I would get into that because some people are asking, what is the inflation rate? And Louisa here, she's speaking about sometimes they retire with bills too. Yeah, I know of many people that have retired and they're still owing different institutions. They owe the credit union, they owe the bank, they owe different things. And they have to find a means of paying that. And those who are lucky enough to have a pension, the pension can't always deal with that. Which is why you find some people, after they've gone on pension, they still have to go and try and find a job because they have bills that remain that they're trying. Generally, the institutions try to make sure that you pay off everything before you go on pension. But things do happen to some people sometimes. Sometimes you miss some payments, you wasn't well for a while, different things take place. And therefore you had to get an extension and you're paying after you're on and then there are the monthly bills. The water, the light. For those that still have the landline service, those that want to watch the TV and so on, the cable service and that kind of thing, and food and medicine. So you still have all those things that you have to pay for, even if you're retired. Which is why the government is also saying, look, we are willing to give the raise, we have to give the raise, we know we have to give the raise, we can't do it at that figure. But here's what? We also have a group of people that work together with you all in the public service. And this group of people, we believe, from a moral perspective, that these people, and an economic one too, have to start receiving a pension. And at the proper level. So government is saying, look, we want to, instead of putting all that money into one basket, let's help these people too. Because many of them, they work in the public service for many, 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 many years. Many, many, many years. I know the situation with them. They are the situation now that they retired, and because under the existing law and the existing act, they didn't qualify for a pension, they basically went home now to nothing. And government is saying, no, we can't continue like that. We have to be able to deal. And only government, the same union is saying that too. So don't think it's the government alone saying it. The union is saying it too. These people must be catered to and for. Some of them were card-carrying members and members of the union itself. But they didn't have a letter from the Judicial and Legal Services Committee, the Commissioner of Police, or the Public Service Commission, or they didn't make the number of years. Even if they had a letter, they didn't make the number of years, so they don't qualify for a pension. And government is saying to these people, listen, we're willing to assist you. The union is saying, government, help these people. But the money has to come from somewhere. So let's have a reasonable and amicable discussion before the end of the month. So that in this instance at least, because you might give up something now, but you might get it back threefold in the future. You might say, okay, we're dropping from the 23% and we're going to another percentage. But 4 or 5 years from now, you might get it 4 times more. That's a possibility. So all we're asking for is for everybody to have a level head in relation to this discussion, yeah? It can't be just a discussion, one-sided discussion, and we want and we don't care. It can't be anything about we must care. It can't be we want that and we don't care. We must care. We must care. All sides must care about the other side and care about everybody. We must care. So, 12 minutes after 11, and yesterday, Mr. Darshan Ramdani, our Attorney General, he also spoke about that case where the individual was charged, I think it's $2,100 in total, $1,500 one way, $600 the other way. And the individual flew out from Grenada after molesting a child. So he spoke about that. And you know something? Grenada is the first country in history. They've been searching to try and find another instance of that happening. Where you had what took place last weekend taking place, where the Commissioner of Police, through the DPP, the Director of Public Prosecutions, filed a case, questioning the sentencing of an individual. Because there seems to be information, and the thing is we have to be careful here, because one, we don't know. I would love to see the court transcripts. Believe me, if it's one thing I would love to see are the court transcripts. I would love to know what happened in court to allow a sentence like that to be handed down in a case like that. I'd love to see the court transcripts. That may lead me to understand. Well, I don't think I'd ever be able to understand. But that may help me to reason a bit more on this particular issue. Yeah? That may help me to reason a little bit more on this particular issue. But some things to note. The Attorney General did remind persons that even though the individual left the state, there was no way that they could have been detained or arrested again. Remember, this was a case that went to court and the case was completed. Therefore, there was no matter that was there that the police could have arrested this individual or barred them from leaving the state of Grenada. They were served with notice that their sentence was being appealed before they left Grenada on Friday or Saturday, whenever they left. They were served notice that their sentence is being appealed. And anybody that thinks that the individual concerned can go and hide in the United States obviously don't know how them Americans operate, especially when it comes to cases of child molestation or child abuse. They're going to be keeping an extremely close eye on this individual. They would not be allowed to just disappear into the background noise of the United States. No. Don't be surprised that Americans just take them and send them right back now. But there have been cases before where persons have been extradited from the United Kingdom and extradited as well from the United States. So we expect, and the person must show themselves here, they must come here. If they fail to show up at the hearing, when this thing is taking place, the appeal is taking place, they have a duty to show up. And if they don't show up, that's immediate grounds for them to be extradited out of the United States back to the state of Grenada. And when they come here, sit in prison until the end of the hearing. Yeah? And maybe sit in prison after the end of the hearing too. Because the outrage is palpable. The outrage, there is not a single person on the island, except probably child molesters themselves, who is happy with what has taken place. The cabinet is not happy. But you see, there are some people that want to give you the impression that the cabinet of Grenada, that the government of Grenada, can tell a judge what to do. And the same people that are pushing that narrative out there are the same ones that will come at the end of the day and say government directing the judiciary. You see? Look, and here they're going to put it, NNP telling them judges what to do. That's what they're going to say. You can't, where's the prime minister in all this? Where's this one in all this? The government cannot tell a judge what sentence to lay down. There is the legislature where you create the laws. Some people are saying we need stronger laws. Ask those people that are saying we need stronger laws what the existing laws are. I bet you 99 out of 100 of them cannot tell you what the existing laws are. And when you're putting laws in place, there's an upper limit and a lower limit. There are some things where you may have a mandatory sentence. In other words, once you are convicted of that, you must go to jail. But there's also a mandatory minimum sentence where there may be a specific length of time under which you cannot go to jail or over which you cannot go to jail. So I'll explain it a little more. We have a call coming through. Good morning.
Sheldon, good morning.
Morning, Cammy. How are you?
Good morning, Mr. Scott.
Morning, morning.
And good morning to Devon and to the young lady that is with you. And also I want to extend my love and greetings to Patty and Matthew, Mr. Deputy, Mr. Watts, Bingo, Ian, all these guys that always locked on to HARDTALK, and all the people in Grenada, Carriacou, and Bitty. Sheldon Scott, you know, you're talking about this thing there with that child. It's such a shame. I don't know. And I can arrest. I can arrest about this thing. I mean, a magistrate, a case like that come in front of you, and you listen to the people, a man feels guilty. Use the magistrate, and the prosecutor is sitting in that court, and you charge the man $1,500, $1,500 and $600 for therapy.
$1,506.
That would fix that child mind. $600. These people is crazy people. That magistrate, no apology. They must remove that man. It is a man or a woman. Understand, they say the woman, move her. She must be drunk. She must be just drink.
Oh God, Cammy, careful.
I don't know if she has family.
Cammy, careful.
I don't know if she has children.
Cammy.
If she has nieces and nephew. I mean, come on. I just come down here because I was listening to the Mr. and Julian this morning.
Yeah.
I didn't get a chance to call him. But it's a shame. That is encouraging the molesters to molest the children. And when they go in front of the magistrate, they will charge them more money. What message that woman or that man sending out here? And you know what bothers me again? I hear the people that social services people come out and speak. When they have cases like that, Mr. Scott, they just have social services people in the court. And nobody stand up for that family. Suppose that man is a sick man, that child will get sick with him out. Could you believe what is going on? You know, Mr. Scott, one of these days, they might mess with the wrong person's child, and that person might take the law in their hand. Now he's gone back to New York or wherever he is, Mr. Scott, and they appeal the case. He could go and live in the next state. He could change his name. He could change the address. You understand? She let him go. Or he let him go. So, I mean, if I was in a position like the prosecutor, I might have called the commissioner of police and the GPP And whoever high in the justice system and say, listen, I have a case here, and the man plead guilty. And let's do something about it. The man gone, how the man gone? You are appealing now. Send the man in the jail and give him another hearing. And then we will do what we have to do. They're going to send the man in the jail. Give him a date, the next date, to come back in court. Come back in court, give him a next date. They're not doing nothing for the children of Grenada. When it's making them molest, you send a man in the prison for street coconut. For kissing a child. Mr. Scott is not right.
Mm-hmm.
And a man put his penis in a child mouth. And they charge him $1,500. That is not right. They have to move that magistrate. That magistrate. The people must pick up the placard and start to demonstrate to remove that man or that woman that's sitting on that bench in Grenville. That is what they have to do. That man or that woman must be a drunk magistrate. They might drink rum.
No, Cammy, you're going to put me in legal trouble. Let me just... Cammy?
Yes.
You're going to put me in legal trouble. No, Cammy.
I'm mad and upset.
I know you're upset,
so
but...
doing that to Holy Ghost.
No, but let me tell you something.
Yeah.
We cannot make this statement about the person maybe drinking rum and this kind of thing because you're going to put me and the stations in legal trouble. We don't know that. So we had to take that back, eh?
Man or woman, I hope I know this.
No, but no, even though you don't call no name, that doesn't save you in court. There is a thing called inference. So a lot of people feel because you don't call a person name that it saves you. You don't have to call my name, you know. All you have to say is the Rasta fellow does be on hard talk, who born in Trinidad, and everybody knows me, ain't call my name. That is inference. So anytime you give any information that can be construed as inference, at the end of the day, you're just as culpable as if you call a person's name. So we have to be careful.
I have to move that person there.
All right.
Because we stand. It's not right.
Mm-hmm.
It's not right.
Before,
you have to move them.
Before you run off, Cammy, you get back your pumpkin or what? Is she gone? So, folks, I am officially apologizing for just that statement. Cammy could say what she wants about the person. That is her feeling. Yeah, and I know she's upset. And I hope that all will take it into consideration to understand that she's upset. And she's a mother. And she's a person that's be in town. That many people listening to this program right now and who wouldn't listen to this program, who don't have time to listen to this program, whose children does have to pass by the same Cammy. So is a mother not only to her own children, but to other people's children too. Good morning. Hello? Okay, yeah, we lost that call. Oh boy, and I lost the call on the overseas line too. Yeah, she's a mother to many people's children. So she would feel it. I'm a parent. I feel it. I'm disgusted by the whole situation. So I really want to know what took place in the court. I'm not the kind of guy who just come out and say this, that, the other. I want to find out where the problem occurred. Let's take this call. Good morning. Hello, morning.
Yes, Mr. Scott call back.
Yeah.
Well, if I say something wrong, I ain't too big to apologize. We all make mistakes.
Only that part about the rum are talking about, nothing else.
Yes, and here's something. I got back my pumpkin. Yes, I got back the pumpkin. I went where the man put the pumpkin inside a shop in the bus terminal. I go in there in the morning and I tell the man, I say, listen to me. You have stolen goods inside of here. I'm going to get the police to come and claim my pumpkin. And the old man fell the pumpkin outside. I get scared. And I get back the pumpkin. Yes. And the man that paid $40 for the pumpkin is a boss man for our hills. He lost the $40. You understand?
Oh,
so
Lord.
Get the pumpkin back.
All right, my dear.
Have a good day.
All right. Hello. Boy, what's person on the overseas? I'm waiting on the person on the overseas line. I'm very sorry. I punched you in, but it got disconnected there. So I'm going to wait for you to call back. If they think that this guy could go and hide in the United States. All you know, the American and them when it come to child, they treated him like if his name was Osama bin Laden. He can't go and hide no way up there. He ain't getting it. They done tagging he and tracking he already. Because I'm nearly 6 million % sure that the Royal Grenada Police Force already contact the police up there. So they're keeping an eye on him. Yeah? We have someone on the overseas line. Good morning.
Good morning, Sheldon. This is O'Connor from Brooklyn, New York.
Morning. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you, sir.
All right, go right ahead. You're live.
Okay. Well, this guy that caused that thing with the child in Grenada, although he tried to leave Grenada, come to the United States, he will be extradited back to Grenada. Right about now in Brooklyn, New York, where I live at, where it's come to child abuse, anything that deal with children, they does not play that situation over here. They have a system that called ACS that gets involved with the kids, and once they get involved, the authorities get involved. And whatever he's tried to do, it was not happen because he would try to the full extent of the law. Grenada need to change these laws dealing with child abuse. Forget about the money. Because money cannot heal a child wound once that child is tampered with. You know what I'm saying, Sheldon?
Yeah. You're absolutely correct.
They need to change these laws. They need to have these guys put away for the rest of their life because they does not serve no purpose to society. And once you take money from these people and them, they're going to keep thinking everything is okay. They're going to go back and do the same thing all over again. So they need to come to a conclusion to change these laws that deal with children.
Mm-hmm. Yes, indeed.
You're
you're more than correct.
Yes, because it could happen to your child, it could happen to my kids, it could happen to my neighbor's kids, and those kids will not be well with their mind of formal state with themselves. They'll be very petrified to even to walk the streets every day because they're scared to think that same man, whoever he is, will be walking behind them and following them everywhere the footstep they make, wherever they goes. So they need to change these laws in Grenada and stop giving these men them free passes for doing these nonsense, because he should be ashamed of himself if he's a father or not to interfere with somebody's child.
What would happen to such an individual in prison in the U.S.?
Sheldon, I'm being real with you right now. I see how it goes down. Once he comes through that gate in a jail in New York City or New York State, wherever he goes, once found that he's a child pedophile, they will deal with him in the jail. Not the police, the inmates will deal with him in the jail very seriously, and he will have to go and hide for protective custody because of himself, because he cannot be in general population.
Yeah. All right, my brother.
So once he comes to that jail, Sheldon, and he walks through that door, his card will be read in front of everybody, and once his card is read, or even though he stayed quiet with it, and they found out, because some of the inmates work with the police in the jail system. And he thinks he'll be okay. He's not going to be okay.
Ah, man. All right,
he
my
will
brother.
not be okay, Sheldon. I'm telling you, I know how the system over here works. A lot of these guys think everything is sweet. It's not sweet.
You might have run from the frying pan into the fire, ain't it?
That's where you go.
All right, I'd like to thank you so very much for your contribution.
All right, you're welcome. Have a good day.
Same to you. Yeah, might have run from the frying pan into the fire, you know. Yeah, don't play in prison in the United States. Don't feel they hold you for a while and they put you inside there and you're coming out nice and dandy. It's a different case when it's over there. We have a caller online. Hello?
Good morning, Senator Scott.
Morning, how you doing, bro?
Boys, man, I feel so sensitive yesterday listening to this whole thing from the Attorney General, and that feels so upsetting, man. Because that's the first time we ever heard that. First time we ever heard something like that ever happen.
But you
have to be Grenada.
But
you have to be Grenada, man.
Let me tell you this, there's one aspect to it that I think a lot of people missed what the Attorney General said yesterday. And I think that's a contributing factor to how the sentencing came about. As it is right now in the law, unless a child's story could be corroborated, in other words, unless there's an adult that can say that what the child is saying, they saw it as well, they generally do not take the child's statement on its own. So a child could say so and so.
I understand that, Sheldon.
So he's saying now that they're changing the law to put it that a child could make the statement and it doesn't have to be corroborated by an adult.
Yeah, but not only that, the guy plead guilty.
Yeah, he did.
So once you plead guilty, then you don't need an adult. This is the puzzling part about it. He plead. I don't know, Sheldon. Something wrong. How could you go and plead guilty and then you tell them, look, pay $1,500 or $1,600 and give them a $600?
Mm-hmm.
That never happened yet. Boy, I don't know. But we have to do something about that.
Yeah, the issue is...
And another thing I want to tell you, be careful. When you're playing the tape, be careful because you was calling someone at the time.
Yeah, I got about 6 or 7 calls one time.
Yeah, be careful, be careful. Shut down your mic and let it thing there because whatever you are saying is crossing over everything.
It's a good thing I wasn't talking too much personal business.
You was not saying anything bad. So be very, very careful. You see everybody going in for you. Be very, very careful, brother.
Yes, indeed. I thank you so very much because I know you got my back.
All right, then.
Thank
you.
Take
care of yourself and have a good one.
All right, bye-bye.
Okay.
Yes, indeed. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So one of the things that came about there, which is why, but the thing is they don't generate, for those kind of cases involving minors, the cases are usually sealed. I don't think the general public has access to those sort of things. Yeah? To protect the child, you don't want people seeing the child because as much as you hear so much people jumping up and talking here, we have some very nasty-minded people around, you know. That even though this child has been through that, there are people in our communities who, while they're talking through one side of the mouth, when they see the child, throwing word for the child parents and throwing word for the child, and they will do that. I have heard situations before of children who are molested and then big man and woman sit down by the rum shop in the neighborhood village and when the child passing, calling the child so-and-so meat. Yeah. In fact, they should make that an offense too. Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, make that an offense. We have a caller. Good morning.
Sheldon Scott, sir. How are you doing?
Hey, I'm good.
Junior George here.
Hey, sir. How are you doing today?
I did.
All right, man.
Mostly. Shall I have a quick question to ask in regards to the current case that we are speaking about right now in regards to the 5-year-old child that was molested. I remember, Sheldon, about sometime in April, a few months ago, we covered a story. I'm sure you remember that story in regards to the 45-year-old guy from St. Mark's who molested a little girl.
Mm-hmm.
Remember that story, right?
Yeah, I remember that one very clearly.
Okay, good. All right, so the question is, what is the difference, in your opinion, in that story back in April and this particular story currently? And the second question is, what was done from April to now that changed or that could have changed the situation as it is current? Because we could even go further back, because this is not the first time, you know, we had Ariel Bola. We had other situations. So my question is, what has changed from these times to make it more difficult for a pedophile or potential pedophile to commit such a heinous crime again?
Mm-hmm. Well, in the first instance, I do remember the case that you're speaking about earlier this year. What I can say is that I know there were new sentencing guidelines that were put in place at the beginning of October. I am not sure if those sentencing guidelines apply specifically to this case. Because you've heard the Attorney General say, look, these are the aspects. Because over the years, and not just this year, last year, year before, people have been saying, change the laws, change the laws, change the laws. Let me ask you, are you aware of what the law says in relation to this particular issue? Are you aware? Have you seen the laws? And the laws are online, eh?
Indecent assault, I had a very lengthy conversation with Ruggles Ferguson on a previous episode, and we was discussing indecent assault.
Mm-hmm.
And from my understanding, which I stand to be corrected. Indecent assault ranges from someone tapping someone on the butt to someone doing exactly what this guy did to this child.
Mm-hmm.
So it's wide ranging.
Mm-hmm.
It goes from kissing, like how this guy kissed this 10-year-old girl. That's also indecent assault. It carry a maximum sentence in summary of 5 years in prison.
That's the
Right.
maximum sentence for it. So you could give a person,
Sorry?
that's the maximum sentence for it. So they could give a person
Maximum
30
sentence.
days, they could give them anything.
Right.
But the maximum is they can't
Right.
give
And
them
that's
over
in
5.
summary. That's in summary.
Yeah.
Right? Right? That's not going to the next level, to the high court. So that I understand. I understand this very clearly. Now, my thing is, if you have such a wide range in this one indecent assault charge, you could take a child who did exactly the same thing like what this gentleman did to this child and get a $1,500 fine. It's not considered a rape. It's not considered anything more than indecent assault. Could be just like if somebody walked down the street and tapped somebody on the butt. That's indecent assault as well. So that's why I was asking the question, what changed from Ariel Bola to this situation in April to this situation now to make it more difficult or make it harder for a potential pedophile? And then I asked you that question, and then you asked me a question. So
Yeah,
we both
I
asked
understand.
each other's question, and we still don't have an answer.
Because the thing is this, I am not sure which act may have gone to Parliament within that space of time that could have dealt with this, or which act would have been passed. You know, some acts could be passed by the minister and so on. I am not sure.
Right.
What I do know is that there are laws that are in place right now,
right,
but they need to be addressed. For instance, the issue where a child, the evidence of a child saying, so-and-so did this to me, and you're saying, okay, this is a child, so we cannot take that evidence just like that because it's a child. But if we have a medical report to back it up, or we have an adult that says, because in this case, what would the medical report show? Even if you do a medical report, what would the medical report be able to show? Yeah? So it is how do you corroborate the evidence of the child? What the Attorney General is saying now is that they are going to change that aspect of the law so that a child's evidence that a child gives can stand on its own. So that is what is going to be done. I know that the sentencing guidelines were reviewed. I know that that was done. That came into effect, if I remember correctly, the 1st of October. If it was followed in this case, I don't know. Because in this case, being a case which involves a child, they would not release the documentation in relation to it. They would not release the documents in relation to that. We don't know what took place in court that led to the magistrate making that particular judgment, which is why the Attorney General went into details when he was saying, you have to take different things into consideration, whether it's a person's first offense, this, that, the other, and that kind of thing. I don't care if it's a first offense. But once it's something like that, as if I'm a judge, I'm treating it the same as if it was your 25th. But he's saying that there are different things that are taken into consideration. So I'm not sure between then, and we keep talking about the Ariel Bola. I understand the Ariel Bola and the anger that's still there in a lot of people in relation to the Ariel Bola case, but it's a case before the courts. Because a lot of people give the impression that something gets swept below the rugs and so on. As far as I know, the alleged perpetrator... I'm not saying that's you.
I'm not speaking about that case in regards... I'm not speaking in that case in regards...
No, but
to
I'm speaking...
getting swept under the rug. But what I'm speaking in regards to, we had a situation back in April, which this exact... When I covered this story here that we're speaking about, and the story back in April, it read like a manuscript. It's exactly replica. It's exactly the same story. It's basically the same story. And what happened then was injustice. Because there you have a family a little girl who is still traumatized. Just as up to yesterday, I spoke to the grandmother. The child is still traumatized. She went and she told her story about this guy being molesting her for X amount of period of time, right? And that story was basically thrown out of court. The guy was charged $1,200, allowed to walk, and he came up with a defense that he was unwell or whatever the case might be that came up, and that's how he was able to get off. And that was swept under the rug. So here we have another situation. You think it won't happen tomorrow and the next day?
But
Because
you said this
it continued to happen, and nothing has changed then, and it's evident that
here's
nothing
what
was put into place at this point.
I wouldn't say that nothing has changed because I don't know what has changed. What I can do
But if you don't
is
know,
find
if
out.
you don't know, and I don't know, and the general public don't know, who's supposed to know, it doesn't bring fear into any criminal mind. So in their mind, nothing has changed.
Well, if you look at it from that perspective, that's how you look at it. I will find out from the relevant sources what it is that have taken place thus far. I wouldn't make that judgment on my own and just say nothing has taken place because I know how the system works. Sometimes a lot of things happen, and the problem is that the information is not broadcast in relation to what happens. That's why I try to get as much information about things to put it out for people to hear, so people know, and so on. And I think
the information be broadcast and put out there? So that the idea is to spark the fear in the minds of potential criminals. So if this information looks as if it is nothing has been done, even if something has been done, and it was not put out there, no one knows what actually has been done. Someone looking to commit such a crime again, they'll be like, let's see what happened there. I could just pay $1,500 and get away with that, right? So
what I'm saying
even
here,
if something were done, I think it will be a good idea to make it as popular of a subject as possible.
but you see, I still think you're heading the wrong direction. You're looking at a situation where an individual is of the inkling, is of that mindset, and I don't call them men, but they are of the inkling and the mindset that they will interfere with a child. What I believe is that we need to get even before that. And we need to get them to understand. Not be worried about if they do it, they're going to court and they're going to jail and this and chemical castration and all these other talk. That it should never reach to that stage for us to have that discussion. That people must understand these are children and leave the children to be children. Leave them alone. I think we need to get to that stage. For instance, I've heard one individual was speaking about Grenada and saying Grenada has some of the highest reported cases of rape and so on around. I haven't seen the data myself, but I heard an individual saying that. In my mind, that is not necessarily a bad thing. And here's why I say that. Because in other countries, it might be happening 5 times more than Grenada, but it's not being reported. But over the years, work by people like the Michelle Alexander and many other people, educating and informing people, especially children, about what is a good touch and a bad touch, explaining to them so that more and more people have been coming forward. It does not mean that Grenada has a higher rate of it happening. It means Grenadians on a whole are not taking it quietly again. They're not just staying there and saying, well, this happened and this one interfering with that one, and so they are coming out and they're speaking about it and they're acting on it and they're doing things about it. So it's not a case that, Grenada has the highest rate of reported. It is that Grenadians have been educated to the point that they understand that it needs to be reported and action needs to be taken. Because while we speak about that, you have a case of a guy that kissed an underage child and he was sentenced to X amount of years. So there's the other part of it is taking place. This is an instance where, in everybody's view, something wrong happened in that courtroom. Something wrong happened there. As far as nearly every Grenadian you speak to is concerned, something wrong happened in that courtroom. The first time ever reported, they can't find another instance of it having happened before. The Commissioner of Police through the DPP has instituted a case to find an appeal of the sentencing. It is an option that was open but that was never used before. COP Edwin Martin is the first person to have used that option. So that in itself is something that we have to see how that develops and so on. Obviously, the individual can't hide in the States. This thing about they go hide up there, they can't hide.
I understand that.
They can't hide.
I'm not making the assessment or the judgment that he cannot be extradited. That's something that we explode, and I completely understand that. But here's what is lacking, right? Here's what is lacking and what should be really taken into consideration. You have a situation where you have a elderly person taking advantage of the innocence of a little child. And you don't have the justice system or anyone speaking up for that matter or making it a mandatory sentence to have the person checked out for psychological evaluation. So in the first case, where we have this particular individual from St. Mark's, he was never given, and I never heard anybody, you or anyone else, speak up to the point like, this guy, he has to be mental. To have to deal with a little child like that, he has to be in a situation, he has to be mental. He needs psychological evaluation.
Somebody, Junior, I need to say that for you to know that this guy is a mental case. Anybody that interferes with children is a mental case.
He has to be advocated, Sheldon. He has to be advocated.
Anybody that interferes with children is a mental. I need to tell you that. I need to say that for you to know that. But all of we have to know that there's a crazy person. And by the way, you have 30 seconds again because other people trying to call. So go right ahead.
Yeah, sorry. I'm gonna be very, very short. That's the last thing I want to say on the topic. It has to be advocated, and it was not advocated in court. It clearly wasn't advocated in this case. It clearly wasn't advocated in the following case.
Junior, before you say that, have you seen the transcript of both of these cases?
Well, Sheldon,
no. Yes or no? Have you seen as a journalist? We both know that the outcome was not what everybody believes it should be, including myself. Believes that it should be. The outcome, what we saw at the end there, should not be what we believe it should be. But we don't know what took place in court. And that is where the crux of the matter is.
Yeah, but the charges was to give the child 6 therapy sessions at $100 apiece and $1,500 to the state. Nowhere in those final charges I heard anything about giving this guy a psychological evaluation. In both of the cases, none of the cases, that never came up.
I can't say that never came up because I do not know what took place in court. Junior, you're a journalist. You know better than that. Enjoy the rest of the day. Yeah. You know better than that. Because you know, as a journalist, you know, number one, I've been a court reporter back in the 1990s, in fact. I was reporting from the court and so on. I've been around the court system. When these kind of cases start up, they clear the court. Now, I just miss people like Patricia Mark, serious. I really miss Patricia Mark. And Lloyd, oh God, what's his name again? Lloyd. His name is slipping me right now. I just miss judges like them. Seriously. We have a caller online. Hello? Oops. Hit the wrong one. Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
How do you do?
Hey, I'm good.
Well, I have, before I make my contribution, I don't know the way the phone system works. It appears you have call waiting on it.
Yeah.
So even though somebody's online, the phone would still ring.
Yeah.
Right. So I am suggesting that you probably remove that because you can be on waiting to be connected. It can be as much as 5 minutes. Anyhow, Sheldon, I heard one legal person speak on this matter. One. And that is Mr. Rogus Ferguson. And the language of this legal quite, the public is outraged, the legal fraternity is outraged, but we have to be careful of the things that we said. I heard a caller say we have to remove this magistrate. Magistrates are not appointed by the state, right? There's a process that's used to appoint magistrates. So we have to be careful that the people who are advocating that the government move to remove this magistrate are the same people who would say that we're interfering with the judiciary. So you have to be careful.
Now, that's the point I was making earlier.
Right.
There's the judiciary, there's the legislation.
Secondly, something I heard Mr. Ferguson say is that because he was not privy to the discussion in the court, he has to be careful of what he say. Right? And that's something that we have to, as Ordinary folks, we can see what we want to see. But when we move into advocate that things be done legally, we have to remember that the decisions of any judge or magistrate is premised on what he or she hears in court. I heard Mr. Ferguson also say that once somebody pleads guilty, automatically they are entitled to a one-third discount in whatever sentence that they're going to get, automatically, because they plead guilty. They're not wasting the court's time. And like I said, all of us are outraged at the what we term to be a minimal sentence. And I don't want anybody to think that I'm taking sides with the gentleman. What he did was wrong, and he needs to be punished. But we have to be careful of the things that we advocate, because the same advocates for radical change are the same ones who are going to come back and say government is failing. So we have to be careful about that. You know, I sat as a magistrate clerk for 2 years, and I've seen where the prosecution presented a case. The gentleman defended himself, and based on the evidence, the guy should have gotten off. The magistrate says, look, I'm going to change the charge. Just for the guy to get some punishment, change the charge. What he was brought up for, she found him not guilty. But she wrote up a new charge on the bench and found him guilty. The law is a very, very funny thing, and we have to be careful. I'm an officer of the law. I'm a GP. And those of us who are officers of the court, have to be reminded that the law is a very strange thing. The ordinary man don't understand it. But if the evidence presented or the statements made at the day of the court moves the judge or the magistrate in a particular way, that's how they would rule, right? So finally, what I'm saying is, Sheldon, something has to be done. What we should be advocating for is the length of sentence for those crimes, right? That's what we should be advocating for. And so that the law is so tight that no magistrate or judge could use their discretion to give a sentence that the public would have an outcry over. Right? That's what we should be advocating for. I don't think that we should be advocating for the government to get involved. I'm one of the persons who feel that there are NGOs who should be pushing this thing. Right? They're the pressure group who should be advocating for the government to move to change the law. Right? But the government should not be pushed to do anything against an officer that they did not appoint. That magistrate was appointed by a particular group, and they're the ones who should be looking into whether or not he should be removed or she should be removed from the bench. As I said, you were not in court. Many of us were not in court. We don't know what went on there. Strange. Last thing I want to say, we heard nothing from the prosecution side. The person who presented the matter, when the guy pleads guilty, then the prosecution have an opportunity to present a synopsis of the case. We heard nothing from them. What we heard is that the DPP is appealing. The gentleman was there, or the lady, whoever was the prosecutor. They are the persons who should be giving us an idea as to what went on in the court, why the magistrate moved in that particular direction. So I just want us to be careful. We are all angry, we are all upset. Changes must be made, but we have to be careful that we do not advocate for the government to interfere with the judiciary. Thank you very much, sir.
All right. And that's the point I was making earlier when I said the very same people that saying that are the ones going to come and say, look, NNB interfering with the judiciary. So they're telling judges how to judge. And we have to be careful with that. Even the perception that is happening, even though it is not happening, even the perception that is happening is a dangerous one. Yeah? That they need to. You cannot. As the legislature, you can put in place laws that are then interpreted and enforced by the judiciary. But the executive has to remain separate from that. So there's a difference. Because a lot of people, we upset and we vex and we find out what the laws are. And if you think that a suite of laws need to be put in place specifically to deal with situations like that, let's have this discussion. But some people, they ain't care about no children, and all they care about is politics. They ain't care about no children. I could guarantee you that. Some of these voices you're hearing, there's an opportunity to attack NNP. So attack the ministers, attack NNP, attack the government. You understand? That's what they're interested in. They're not interested in seeing that these individuals who do this kind of thing, I dare not call them men, because some people are a big man and a big... I know man. But seeing that the people that commit these sort of offenses are properly dealt with through the legal system. But not only that, I wish the day would come when we don't even have to be dealing with that sort of thing. Yes, jail them. Yes, put them inside. Yes, flog them. Yes, this, that, the other. But at the end of the day, I'd like to see the day come when we don't even have to be dealing with these kind of cases. We have a call online. Hello?
Yes, hello. I want to just enter the program very quickly to say the decision of the judicial officer in respect of the sentencing of this rodent. Because let us understand something very clearly. In the law, a child is any person 16 years and under. But even within the definition of the child, there are sub-definitions. There's a baby, and that's usually a person who from birth to about 3 years. Then there's an infant, right? This sexual offense was committed against an infant. And people have to understand that. I think people are justifiably outraged, right, to call for the removal of the officer, the presiding officer in that court. And I see nothing contemptuous about that. Now, the government can't remove the presiding officer because the court is governed by a Judicial and Legal Services Commission. But certainly the government can use its influence and to lodge an official complaint. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But the outrage, to my mind, ought to be even greater than we are seeing now. Here are the facts that we know. The person who committed the offense against the child, against the infant, pleaded guilty. So there was no question about weighting of evidence. The individual pleaded guilty. Here's the second fact, that the maximum punishment for a guilty person committing such an offense was up to 5 years. So there was sufficient discretion. The question is, what would have occupied the minds of a judicial officer to have sat over a case involving an infant and failed to give a custodial sentence? Failed to give a custodial sentence. Quite frankly, I am very sympathetic to all those who call for the removal of that judicial officer. Because the mind cannot fathom, and lawyers will be dancing behind procedures and all of that. I don't have time for that. What has happened to this infant is so outrageous. The other point I want to leave is, I think the society ought to praise the mother. Because the mother had the fortitude to resist a bribe of $10,000. The third thing is, what steps can be taken by the Commissioner of Police or in the office of his name to proceed to bring charges against the individual who attempted to subvert justice by offering a bribe? If there are not adequate laws under which such a person can be punished, then I submit that with all urgency, the executive should ensure that by the next sitting of Parliament, there is a bill dealing with this matter, because this is not the first time. The little bowler girl was about 8. When she was raped and murdered. How many more bowlers, how many more babies must we wait until something is done? the legislature have a duty to the population and to the mother of that child. The mother of the child acted with distinction. She refused a bribe. In fact, it would be reasonable to conclude in her mind, we better to take the $10,000. I mean, but she insisted that she's going to court to seek justice. And the court system under that judicial officer failed the mother. The third and final thing is, society must ensure that the mother has the wherewithal to bring a civil case against the guy for damages and to seek a substantial amount of damages through our courts. And let us wait to see what a court will do. Again, in this situation here, something is radically wrong. Something is radically wrong with our society. Something is radically wrong. When incidents like these occur, the judiciary has a responsibility to protect society and to say to perpetrators that our society will not accept this. Will not accept this. I mean, the judicial officer didn't even compel the individual to seek psychological medical attention, you know. A charge of what? $1,500 and $600, and the man walks free without a custodial sentence to go back into society to find another victim. Is that how law is practiced? Is that how our laws have come to be practiced? I think it's fundamentally wrong. And these are the points I would wish to make. I have not heard sufficient outrage. I've heard one person in the judicial society speak. And again, they were speaking on tiptoes. On tiptoes, right? The outrage, to my mind, is not sufficiently enough. Could this kind of thing to happen. Somebody earlier said that what the courts are doing when they behave this way is that they are laying the basis for disorder in the society. Because what will happen? People who suffer this in the future may very well decide, okay, see me, I ain't bothering with courts, you know, because I'm not getting justice there. I don't want to take it in my own hands. Right?
Hello? Hello? Oh boy. And caller was on fire there and I don't know what took place. Hello? Let's see. I'm leaving it up just in case we can get that caller back. I'm not too sure what happened there, but the call dropped and we lost that call. But definitely, caller, we're going to give you the opportunity. We're going to continue that conversation tomorrow. Because I think it's an important conversation for us to have. So we're going to continue that conversation tomorrow. And you see that point that the caller just made there? The individual attempted to pervert the course of justice. They offered a bribe. And that was not, they were not charged for that. So even that is something that can be looked at. Yeah? Maybe charge him for that, have him sent back immediately. Yeah? But folks, time has caught up on us. I know, and the phone line's red, but the time has caught up on us. We'll continue this conversation tomorrow. I'll ask Ms. Duncan to come in studio with me. I know she will get emotional, but I'll ask Ms. Duncan to come in studio with me tomorrow, and we can continue having a discussion on this issue. But for today, that's all the time we have. So, folks, and whatever you say and do it safe and secure. I want to be speaking to and with you and not about you. Love each and every one of you unconditionally. That's our talk for today.
The new National Party will host its national convention on Sunday, October 27, 2019. Venue, McDonald College. Under the theme, NNP, continuing to build a stronger and resilient economy. Time, closed session begins at 9:30 a.m. Open session at 3 p.m. and goes until 6:30 p.m. Come and hear presentations on current affairs, the economy, and the way forward by our political leader, the Right Honorable Dr. Keith Mitchell.
So Sisters and brothers, with the team here, they're all committed to serve you, to serve the people of this country.
The new National Party National Convention, Sunday, October 27th, 2019. McDonald College. Mobilize your posse. Contact your constituency office. Just be there.
Sisters and brothers, thank you all.
Government negotiating team committed to resolving wage dispute with TAU and PWU. Details to this story and more in the national report. With the details to the news for Tuesday, October 22nd, I am Leslie Ann Johnson. The government negotiating team has pledged its commitment to resolving the current dispute with the Grenada Technical and Allied Workers Union and the Public Workers Union over wage increases for public officers. However, the GNT says if any progress is to be made around the table with labor unions, there is need for a conciliator to bring the parties closer together, given the great disparity between the government's offer and the union's demand. During a press conference immediately following the post-cabinet press briefing on Tuesday, head of the GNT, the Honorable Oliver Joseph, reiterated that they are prepared to consider any, quote, reasonable and justifiable demand by the union, unquote. The unions have only slightly dropped their demands for salary increases for public officers from $90.5 million to $89 million, while the government is offering $26.6 million, taking into consideration government's commitments to other sectors of the population. Minister Joseph says it must be borne in mind that negotiations will be conducted differently under the fiscal responsibility legislation.
The union said they do not recognize the deadlock. Well, under the labor law, the other side do not have to agree. And there was clearly no movement, so there is deadlock. No movement, you declare deadlock. So if you have to wait for the other side, either party, to agree, then it will be difficult for anyone to declare deadlock, because all the other party have to say is that we do not agree. So the argument that they do not agree and the letter to me that we could go back around the table, when the matter is before the Labour Commissioner, when we indicated that we were prepared to go to conciliation and there look at fresh proposal, and they have refused to attend the both meetings, even when the Labour Commissioner rescheduled a meeting, they wrote a letter saying they're not available between the 21st to the 24th. But they wanted to meet with the GNT on the 22nd. But if they're not available to meet with the Labour Commissioner, how come they are available to meet with the GNT? So the matter will, before the Labour Commissioner, he will decide whether the matter should go to mediation if there is no, if the parties are not prepared to meet. Well, we attended all the meetings and they have not showed up.
Cabinet Secretary Mrs. Beryl Isaac says the union's proposal, which will cost the government $89 million, will breach the primary expenditure rule, and as part of the fiscal responsibility legislation, government cannot incur expenditure of more than 2% on the previous year.
Government has to pay increments, $2 million. They are about to make the advance payment to pensioners who are eligible pensioners. Regularization, we have the continued regularization of teachers, we have nurses, we have pharmacists, doctors, all of that is in the work.
She says with the enactment of the fiscal responsibility law, the processes and procedures for negotiations have changed.
Under the FRL, we know that there's no longer going to be any back pay. Negotiations have to be forward-looking, so that whatever is agreed to will be budgeted for in the next cycle. So if we have to agree in 2019 so that the budget could be included in the 2020 estimates of revenue and expenditure.
The Cabinet Secretary says they want to conclude negotiations by October 31st so that provisions can be made in the 2020 budget, which will be read in November. The government's negotiating team met Tuesday with the Grenada Union of Teachers to discuss wage increases for teachers for the contract cycle 2020 to 2022. The negotiations were cordial and there was movement from both sides with respect to the demand being made by the union and the offer presented by the government negotiating team. The flexibility of the parties demonstrates a willingness to reach a settlement at the earliest opportunity. The next round of negotiations will be held on Thursday, October 24th. The duty represents about 1,500 teachers across the country. In other news, Grenada is now a part of the OECS Regional Health Association. On Tuesday, the Ministry of Health, the Caribbean Public Health Agency CARFA, and the World Bank signed the agreement for the $30.6 million funded project throughout the OECS. The Regional Health Project will serve to mitigate the effects of climate change, build capacity, strengthen the surveillance system, and boost recovery and response. Speaking during the launch of the project, Health Minister the Honorable Nicholas Steele expressed optimism that the multi-million-dollar project throughout the OECS will strengthen the resilience of the health system. The project will run for 5 years.
As people in SIDS, we have had the collective experience of devastating impacts of extreme weather events, including Hurricane Ivan in 2004 in Grenada, Maria in Dominica in 2015, and most recently Hurricane Dorian in Bahamas only a few short weeks ago. We also will know the devastating impacts of chikungunya and Zika outbreaks in the region in 2016 and 2017, and the debilitating personal, social, and economic burdens placed on the people of the region as a result of these extreme events. Collective efforts will ensure that as SIDS, the people of the Caribbean are better prepared to respond to climate change and to help shape the future of the next generation.
Minister Steele says $6 million have been allocated for the Grenada project, which will see improvements in 4 key sites in St. George's, St. David, and St. Patrick.
Infrastructure work is planned at 4 sites in Grenada, the Mount Gay Psychiatric Hospital, to ensure the facilities are available for the care of vulnerable members of our citizenry, especially geriatrics and children. The St. Health Center, the St. David's Health Center, which continues the smarting initiatives in previous projects, and the General Hospital, the ICU operating theater. The infrastructure and operations of the Public Health Laboratory at the General Hospital will be enhanced. Support will be provided for the health emergency planning and operations. Opportunities will be provided through training to enhance the skills and competencies of staff to support the project implementation, and to sustain the long-term benefits resulting from the project intervention.
World Bank representative Michelle Gragnolati commended the region on taking this bold step to initiate such an investment in the health sector.
It is the first World Bank regional health project in the Caribbean. It is the first project to follow climate-resilient infrastructure in the context of health facilities. And it is the first and the only to leverage funds from a regional facility that IDA 18 provides. Said in other words, it means that you, by working as a region, have been able to access much more concessional financing than you would if you had worked only as individual countries.
So far, only 4 countries, including Grenada, have signed on to the project's agreement. Partnering countries will spend the next 2 days in Grenada, charting the way forward for the OECS project. This is the National Report. More news after the break.
Grenada, it's coming as the Ministry of Youth, Development, Sports, Culture and the Arts brings to you National Youth Week 2019, and it's 1 full week of activities, vibes and action as the nation turns their attention on the nation's youth. And it's from Saturday, October 19 till Saturday, November 2nd under the theme Embracing Opportunities, Sowing Higher. October 19th and 20th, National Community Service Weekend, island-wide. October 26th, Health Walk and Ministers Address: October 28th, Youth Vibe. October 29th, St. John's Youth Parliament. October 30th, Job Fair and Career Day. October 31st, Fun Nights. November 1st, Discovering Talents and Expo. November 2nd, it's National Youth Award. Sunday, November 3rd, Ecumenical Service and Peace Concert. So urging everyone to be a part of Youth Week 2019, October 19th to November 2nd.
Continuing the news, the government of Grenada says tackling the backlog of cases will be given priority when court operations begin in earnest next week. Following the completion of retrofitting work on the Carriacou building on Yonge Street, the functioning of one of the courts was tested this week. During Tuesday's post-cabinet press briefing, Attorney General Darshan Ramdani said the immediate task is to meaningfully tackle the backlog of cases that are before the high courts. He's confident that with the full complement of 4 judges, this will make a significant contribution to the reduction in the backlog.
Court lists are being generated, and they will advise the public of sittings in a new building, and those will be out shortly. Our chambers, the Attorney General's chambers, will continue to be ready and to provide all support as we have been doing over the years. And I'm sure the bar will be also ready, all of the stakeholders will be ready to get right back into it and to get the work of the dispensation of justice on its way. That being said, it would be remiss of me not to express our own gratitude for the support the Minister and the Ministry of Legal Affairs, my own office, has received from less than ideal and often challenging circumstances to get the job done.
The retrofitted facility was officially handed over to government on Monday. It houses 4 courts, 2 civil and 2 criminal, along with administrative offices.
The building was handed over to the government as being ready for court use. Yesterday, there was a test run in one of the criminal courts dealing with real court matters. Members of the public were present. This test run revealed that a few adjustments had to be made, and those are being presently carried out. For the civil courts, furniture is right now being carried across from the temporary court facilities which were at the Parliament building, as you all may know. I am advised by the Registrar of the Supreme Court that all of the court facilities will be ready for work on Monday. I must point out here that of the 4 judges assigned to Grenada, 2 are presently off island. 1 is to return this month end, and the other, who is on assignment in Antigua, will return mid next month.
In another development, Grenada's Attorney General Darshan Ramdani says given the appeal filed by the Commissioner of Police to challenge the inadequacy of a sentence meted out in a recent sexual assault case involving a minor, there is still a possibility for a custodial sentence to be imposed. At Tuesday's post-cabinet press briefing, the Attorney General said it will be one of the options available to the appeal court when it hears the matter. If the sentence of a $1,500 fine payable to the state and $600 in compensation to the family is deemed inappropriate, the appeal court can throw this out and impose a sentence of imprisonment. Allaying fears that the departure of the perpetrator from the country will affect legal recourse after the appeal is heard, Mr. Ramdani said if he does not return voluntarily, the extradition process can be used. The Attorney General noted that the recent sentence has led to questions about the adequacy of Grenada's laws and the penalties imposed. Referencing the amendments made in 2012, which increased the penalties for most sexual offences following consultations with all stakeholders, Mr. Ramdani said the revision of legislation is a continuous process and noted that the AG's office and the Ministry of Legal Affairs have been continuously working on a number of amendments for several months.
The AG's office and the Minister of Legal Affairs have made conscious decisions to continuously assess our current laws. Right now, we are working on those aspects of laws which relates to the protection of vulnerable witnesses at trial so that victims can be safeguarded during the trial process. We are also looking at amendments to remove corroboration requirements for young children. As the law currently stands, if all the evidence and the only evidence against an alleged offender is the evidence of a child of tender years, then unless that man pleads guilty, it would be virtually impossible to convict him. One view which is being considered is that the possibility must exist for a conviction to flow from such evidence, that is, just the oral evidence of the child without any independent corroborating evidence.
The Attorney General is encouraging persons to get familiar with the provisions of the law. Making specific reference to members of the media and social commentators, he said that is driving public discussions. These individuals must research the facts, comment responsibly, and always seek to educate the public. He said it is important to appreciate the fact that significant work has been done legislatively, and Grenada is a leader in the region in this regard on many fronts.
The stakeholders are at work and in tandem. The police force has its special victims unit, which is expected to be engaged on every sexual allegation in the country so that protocols which have been established may be employed. Those, and the most important one of these, of course, is ensuring that where a child is involved, that the Child Protection Authority is involved in the earliest stages of the matter. If I might at this point remind all that the 2012 amendments actually added a legal obligation on parents and guardians who suspect legal abuse of their children or their ward. This obligation requires them to report their suspicion to the police. Failure to do so, the law actually punishes it by a term of imprisonment.
And that's the National Report. I'm Leslie Ann Johnson.